You ask a young person, ask my students on campus about politics, they hate it because they say, well, all you have to do is fight and there's only two positions. I don't agree with this one, I don't agree with that one. That's not how it is. The genius of the Founding Fathers was to create a system of government that demanded, that caused, by design, by intent, conflict. And the founders in Philadelphia fought. Make no mistake about that. You all saw the movie John Adams, or read the book by McCullough. There's a wonderful scene in there, it's a true scene from history, where Adams is shown this beautiful mural, this painting of all the founders standing around like this in Philadelphia, and the artist says, what do you think of it? And Adams looks at it, shakes his head and says, that's not the way it was. We were out of our seats, we were fighting, we were disagreeing. We were putting together a brand new form of government never before seen on this earth. We fought. Think about it. Everything in the Constitution builds conflict, checks and balances. The House checks the Senate, the feds check the states, the Congress checks the executive, the courts check everyone. Every aspect of the Constitution does this. The founders made it an invitation to struggle. That's the way we teach it, an invitation to struggle. They created conflict. But here's the genius. For us to get anything done in constitutional government, it requires cooperation, compromise, and consensus. If we're losing that, which we are, I doubt whether democracy can function.
So many people talk about the Republican Party, say it's too old, it's too white, and it's too male.
It is. You know, we might be in the midst of what political scientists would call a massive party alignment or realignment. This has happened throughout history when various groups will come together. We saw Nixon doing this with the Republican Party in the 60s. We saw, even after the Civil War, the Republican Party of Lincoln doing this. But what we're seeing is Obama took 71% of the Latino vote, as Rhonda mentioned earlier, 80% of the Asian vote, well over half of the women's vote, perhaps 69+% of the Jewish vote, every major demographic except evangelicals and white males. Obama won the presidency with what, 39% of the white male vote. So it comes down to two things, demographics, mathematics. The Republicans cannot get to 270 electoral votes by just appealing to white men and running a national campaign as if it was the year 1950 in Alabama. So every major, and the country's simply going to get more and more diverse. And the challenge, as Rhonda mentioned earlier with some of the remarks from Republican leaders this past week, we heard prominent Republican leaders saying, oh, it was either the gifts Obama gave to minorities or it was our tone. No, it's not just the tone, it's the message. You can't be, quote unquote, anti-woman or anti-immigrant or anti-Latino or anti-black or anti-gay or and hope to stitch together a coalition. And if the Democrats can manage to hold this together, we could see the beginning of a major realignment that should favor the Democrats electorally for years to come. The big word there is if.
Lady Bird Johnson died yesterday at the age of 94. She was a favorite of many historians, including one local professor.
Lady Bird Johnson had a front row seat to history in the making. Her husband was one of the most important presidents in history. She presided during the tumultuous 1960s, and yet she wasn't a passive bystander. She played an active role in her husband's presidency, whether it was civil rights, environmental issues, or a beautification initiative. She was one of the more active first ladies in American history.
Dr. Robert Watson is a presidential historian. He's written his 34th book. It took him 10 years to write it, and it's his favorite one so far. It's all about presidential sex scandals and more.
My thought was that, you know, all these men are said to be self-made men. But the more you read, you realize that a lot of them are wife-made men or mother-made men. So I figured, let's look at the hand of a woman, the mother, the wife, but also, as per this book, the hand of a mistress, and how that may have shaped history.
And with some of these presidents, the hand of multiple mistresses.
Oh, sure.
Multiple hands going on, yeah.
Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Warren Harding. I guess my line is that when you come to affairs in high office, that Bill Clinton wasn't the first and wasn't the worst.